The moment I saw Kira whispering with her friends at the restaurant table, I knew something was coming. After 8 years of marriage, you learn to read the signs. The way she kept glancing at her phone, the nervous energy radiating from her crew, the fact that Allie had that predatory smile she wore whenever she was about to stir up drama for her social media followers. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. It was Kira's 32nd birthday dinner at Marcello's, the trendy bistro downtown that charged $28 for pasta and served it on slate boards instead of plates. The kind of place that screamed, "Look at me," to anyone scrolling through Instagram feeds. Perfect for my wife's carefully curated online persona. "Trent, honey, could you move a little to the left?" Kira asked, adjusting her phone against the wine bottle for what had to be the 15th time tonight. "The lighting is better there." I shifted in my chair, watching as she checked her reflection in the camera one more time. Her blonde hair was perfectly styled, makeup flawless despite the humidity outside. She looked beautiful, like always, but there was something else in her expression tonight, something that made my stomach tighten. "So, Trent," Allie said, leaning forward with that shark smile of hers, "Kira tells us you've been working a lot of overtime lately. Must be hard on the marriage." I took a sip of my beer, noting how all 4 women suddenly focused on me with laser intensity. Kira's friends, Allie, Marissa, and Jess, were like a pack of wolves when they sensed weakness. Ali was the alpha, always pushing boundaries and creating content for her lifestyle blog. Marissa was the follower, recording everything and sharing it across every platform she could find. Jess was supposedly Kira's oldest friend, but I'd caught the jealous looks she threw my wife's way when she thought nobody was watching. "Electrical work keeps me busy," I said simply. "Somebody's got to pay for dinners like this." The comment earned me a sharp look from Kira, but it was true. My commercial electrical contracting business had been doing well lately, well enough that my wife could play social media coordinator at a small marketing firm while spending most of her energy building her personal brand. "Oh, but surely you make time for romance?" Marissa chimed in, already holding up her phone to record. "I mean, it's Kira's birthday. This should be magical." That's when I noticed Kira's hands shaking slightly as she reached for her wine glass. The nervous energy wasn't excitement, it was anticipation, like an actress waiting for her cue. "Actually," Kira said, her voice suddenly carrying that artificial tone she used for her videos, "I think we need to talk about something important." The restaurant noise seemed to fade as she stood up, phone positioned perfectly to capture both of us. Allie was grinning now, Marissa had 2 phones recording, and even Jess looked uncomfortable with whatever was about to happen. "Trent, I can't do this anymore," Kira announced, her voice projecting just loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "You never pay attention to me, you're always working, and honestly, I think we should break up." The words hung in the air like smoke. Around us, conversations faded as people turned to watch the show. Kira's phone was recording everything, capturing what she clearly thought would be my devastated reaction. Her friends were practically vibrating with excitement, probably already planning how many views this would get. But here's the thing about being underestimated your whole life. You learn to keep your cards close to your chest. While Kira was performing her little drama for the cameras, I was thinking about the text message I'd seen on her phone 3 days ago. The one from Devin Cross, her coworker, talking about hotel rooms and how much he missed her body. I was thinking about the credit card statements I'd found showing charges at restaurants I'd never been to, at times when she claimed to be working late. I was thinking about how she'd been distant for months, how she flinched when I touched her, how she'd started working out obsessively and buying new lingerie that I never got to see. Most of all, I was thinking about how she'd just handed me the perfect opportunity to end this marriage on my terms. "All right," I said calmly, reaching for my wallet. The simple response clearly wasn't what she'd expected. Her perfectly rehearsed speech faltered as she waited for me to beg, to cry, to make a scene that would go viral for all the right reasons. Instead, I pulled out 3 20s and placed them on the table next to my untouched dinner. The slate board made a soft scraping sound as I pushed it toward the center of the table. "That should cover my meal and the tip," I said, standing up and grabbing my jacket from the back of the chair. "Happy birthday, Kira." The restaurant was silent now. Even the kitchen seemed to have stopped clattering. Kira's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, her phone still recording her shocked expression. "Wait, that's it?" Allie demanded, clearly frustrated that her entertainment wasn't playing out as scripted. "You're just going to leave?" I looked at her for a long moment, then at Marissa with her multiple recording devices, then at Jess who was staring at the table like she wanted to disappear. Finally, my gaze settled on my wife. You said you wanted to break up, I said with a shrug. I'm just respecting your wishes. Enjoy the rest of your dinner, ladies. I walked out of Marcello's without looking back, leaving behind the sound of frantic whispers and Kira's voice calling my name. The cool night air felt good on my face as I climbed into my truck and started the engine. My phone was already buzzing with notifications, but I ignored them. Instead, I drove home to our cozy house on Maple Street, the one with the white picket fence and the basement workshop where I'd spent countless hours building the smart home security system that Kira bragged about to her friends. The same security system that backed up everything to the cloud, the same cloud account that I'd set up and had full access to. As I pulled into the driveway, I was already planning my next move. Kira thought she'd just pulled off the perfect prank, something that would get her thousands of views and establish her as the queen of relationship drama content. What she didn't realize was that her little performance had just given me everything I needed to destroy her completely. Never interrupt a woman's TikTok moment, I thought to myself as I unlocked the front door, unless you want to be immortalized as a meme. But sometimes the meme isn't what you expect it to be. The house felt different when I walked in alone that night. Not empty, Kira's stuff was still everywhere, from her ring light setup in the living room to the pile of packages from online shopping sprees stacked by the front door. But there was a stillness to it now, like the calm before a storm. I went straight to my basement workshop, past the electrical equipment and half-finished projects, to the computer setup in the corner. The multiple monitors flickered to life as I settled into my chair and cracked my knuckles. Time for some digital archaeology. The cloud backup system I'd installed was comprehensive. It captured everything from our security cameras to automatic backups of any device connected to our home network, including Kira's phone, which she'd synced years ago and never bothered to disconnect. What I found in those deleted messages and hidden photo folders was like discovering a whole other person had been living in my house. The affair with Devin Cross had been going on for 4 months. Their text exchanges read like a bad romance novel, full of breathless declarations and explicit photos that made my stomach turn. But it was the casual cruelty in their conversations about me that really stung. "He's so clueless," Kira had written just last week. "Still thinks I'm working late when I'm with you. God, I can't wait to be done with this charade." "Why don't you just leave him?" Devin had replied. "Are you kidding? He pays for everything. The house, my car, all of it. I need to build my brand first, get enough followers to monetize properly. He's like my backup plan until I can support myself." Backup plan. 8 years of marriage, and I was her backup plan. But the real kicker came in a group chat between Kira and her friends from 2 weeks ago, where they'd planned tonight's entire performance. "I'm thinking of doing a fake breakup prank for my birthday dinner," Kira had typed. "Film his reaction when I dump him publicly, then reveal it's a joke. The emotional whiplash will be perfect for engagement." "OMG, yes," Allie had responded. "I can help you script it. We need to make him cry on camera." "Make sure you get good angles," Marissa had added. "This could go viral if we do it right." Even Jess, who I'd always thought was the reasonable one, had chimed in. "Just make sure you're recording when he begs you not to leave. That's the money shot." They'd planned every detail, from the restaurant choice to the seating arrangement that would give them the best lighting. What they hadn't planned for was me walking away. I spent the next 2 hours documenting everything, screenshotting conversations and saving photos to a secure drive. The evidence painted a picture of a woman who saw our marriage as nothing more than content for her social media empire and a financial safety net while she screwed around with her coworker. My phone had been buzzing constantly since I left the restaurant, but I'd been ignoring it. Now I finally looked at the messages. 17 missed calls from Kira, dozens of text messages that started apologetic and quickly turned angry. "Trent, please call me back. We need to talk." "It was just a prank. Why are you being so dramatic?" "This isn't funny anymore. Come back to the restaurant." "Fine. Be a baby about it. I'll see you at home." "Where are you? Your truck is here, but you're not answering the door." "I know you're inside. Stop being childish." "Answer your phone." The last message had come in 20 minutes ago. "Whatever. I'm staying at Ali's tonight. We'll figure this out tomorrow when you've stopped sulking." Perfect. That gave me all night to work. I started with the practical stuff. The joint bank accounts, credit cards, and shared assets. As someone who'd grown up poor and worked his way up from apprentice electrician to business owner, I'd always been careful about money. Everything was documented, every account had detailed records, and I had legal access to all of it. By 2 a.m., I'd transferred half of our joint savings to a personal account, exactly what I was legally entitled to. I'd also discovered that Kira had been using our shared credit card to pay for hotel rooms with Devin, expensive dinners, and even a weekend trip to Boston that she'd told me was a work conference. The woman who called me her backup plan had been funding her affair with my money. I was just finishing up the financial audit when I heard a car door slam outside. Through the security camera feed on my monitor, I watched Kira stumble up the front walkway, clearly having had more to drink after I left. She was alone, which surprised me. I'd expected her to bring her cheering section. The front door rattled as she tried her key, but it wouldn't turn. I'd changed the smart lock settings an hour ago, something I could do remotely from my phone. Her key still worked, but now it required a secondary code that only I knew. "What the hell?" I heard her mutter through the security system's audio feed. She tried the key again, then started pounding on the door. "Trent, open the door! This isn't funny!" I watched her on the camera, swaying slightly in her designer dress, makeup smudged from whatever drama had unfolded after I left. Part of me, a small part, almost felt sorry for her. She looked genuinely confused, like she couldn't understand why her harmless little prank had consequences. But then I remembered the messages calling me clueless, the photos she'd sent to another man, the months of lies and manipulation. The pity evaporated. My phone buzzed with another call from her. I let it go to voicemail. After 10 more minutes of pounding and shouting, she finally gave up and got back in her car. I watched her taillights disappear down Maple Street, probably heading back to Ali's to plan their next move. That was fine. It gave me more time to prepare mine. I pulled up the contact information for Mitchell & Associates, the law firm that had handled the legal work when I incorporated my business. They specialized in small business law, but I knew they also handled divorces. I drafted a careful email explaining that I needed to speak with someone first thing Monday morning about dissolving my marriage. Then I started working on the real masterpiece, a comprehensive dossier of Kira's affair, complete with time-stamped messages, photos, and financial records showing how she'd been using marital funds to support her relationship with Devin. It wasn't about revenge, I told myself. It was about documentation, evidence. But as I compiled screenshot after screenshot of her betrayal, I couldn't help but smile. She'd wanted to film my humiliation for her social media followers. Instead, she'd given me everything I needed to destroy her life systematically and completely. By the time the sun started rising over our quiet neighborhood, I had everything organized and ready. Phase 1 of my response to Kira's prank was complete. I made coffee and sat in my kitchen, looking out at the garden we'd planted together 3 years ago. The roses were blooming beautifully, their red petals bright in the morning light. Kira used to love taking photos among those roses, back when she still pretended to love me too. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend and business partner, Owen Martinez. "Dude, what happened last night? Saw Kira's story and it looked intense. You okay?" Owen was one of the few people I trusted completely. We'd known each other since high school, and he'd been the best man at my wedding. He was also the only person who'd ever openly questioned whether Kira was right for me. "Long story," I texted back. "Can you come by this morning? I need your help with something." "On my way." I finished my coffee and went upstairs to shower and change. In the bedroom mirror, I looked the same as always. Average height, brown hair that was starting to thin at 34, the kind of face that blended into crowds, the kind of man that women like Kira's friends dismissed without a second thought. But as I looked at my reflection, I saw something new in my eyes, a hardness that hadn't been there yesterday. Kira thought she'd played a prank on her boring, predictable husband. What she'd actually done was declare war on someone who understood systems, who knew how to plan, and who had access to every digital secret she'd ever thought was safe. She wanted a show for her followers. I was about to give her the performance of a lifetime. Owen arrived at 9:30 with coffee and donuts from Murphy's, the local shop that had been serving our neighborhood since before we were born. He took one look at my face and set the bag down on the kitchen counter. "Okay, what really happened?" he asked, settling into the chair across from me. "Because Kira's Instagram story made it look like you just abandoned her at dinner for no reason." I pulled out my laptop and showed him everything. The messages, the photos, the financial records, the group chat planning the prank. Owen's expression grew darker with each screenshot. "Jesus Christ, Trent," he said when I finished. "How long has this been going on?" 4 months that I can prove. Maybe longer. I closed the laptop and leaned back in my chair. "She called our marriage a charade, Owen. Said I was her backup plan." Owen was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window at Kira's rose garden. He'd never liked her much, though he'd been polite about it over the years. Too polite, maybe. "What do you need?" he asked finally. That was Owen. No lectures about forgiveness or working things out. No questions about whether I was sure. Just immediate, unconditional support. It's why we'd been friends for 20 years and why our business partnership worked so well. Information, mostly. and maybe some technical assistance. I outlined my plan. Owen listened without interruption, occasionally nodding or asking clarifying questions. When I finished, he was grinning. "You know what? I never liked that smug bastard Devin anyway," he said. "Remember when he came to your 4th of July party last year? Kept talking about his Tesla like it was a space shuttle. You can really disable it without causing permanent damage? Are you kidding? Those things are basically computers on wheels. I can make it so unreliable he'll spend more time at the service center than on the road." Owen's grin widened. "And the best part? It'll all look like random electrical failures, nothing that could be traced back to us." We spent the next hour planning the technical details. Owen had always been the more creative one when it came to electronics, while I was better at the systematic, methodical stuff. Together, we made a good team. At 11, my phone rang. Kira's name flashed on the screen. "You should probably answer that," Owen said. "See what her next move is." I put it on speaker. "Trent, thank God." Kira's voice was strained, like she'd been crying. "We need to talk. Can I come home?" "This is my home now," I said calmly. "You made it pretty clear last night that you wanted out of this relationship." "It was a prank. How many times do I have to say that? It was supposed to be funny, for my followers. You were supposed to laugh when I revealed the joke." "What was the punchline going to be exactly? That you enjoy humiliating me in public?" There was a long pause. When she spoke again, her voice had an edge to it. "Don't be so dramatic. It was harmless fun. You're acting like I actually cheated on you or something." Owen's eyebrows shot up. The audacity was breathtaking. "Are you?" I asked quietly. "Am I what?" "Cheating on me." Another pause, longer this time. I could practically hear her calculating, trying to figure out how much I knew. "Of course not," she said finally. "Trent, you're being paranoid. This is about a stupid prank that went wrong, not some conspiracy theory. Then you won't mind if I look through your phone when you get home." What? No. That's a violation of privacy. I can't believe you'd even ask that." "But you can film me without permission for your social media? That's different, and you know it." I looked at Owen, who was shaking his head in disgust. "Here's what's going to happen, Kira. You can come get some clothes and personal items this afternoon. Bring a witness. I don't want any accusations about missing jewelry or damaged property. After that, we'll communicate through lawyers." "Lawyers?" Her voice went up an octave. "Trent, you're overreacting. It was one stupid prank. No, it was 8 years of marriage ending with you humiliating me in public for internet points. I'm done." I hung up before she could respond and immediately blocked her number. "Damn," Owen said. "You've really thought this through." I had all night to think about it. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, probably Kira using someone else's phone. I deleted it without reading it. At noon, Mrs. Harker knocked on my door. Eleanor Harker was 73 years old, lived in the house next door, and knew everything that happened in our neighborhood. She was also surprisingly progressive for her age and had never been shy about sharing her opinions. "Trent, dear, I hope you don't mind me stopping by," she said, holding a covered dish. "I brought you some of that lasagna you always compliment at the block parties." "That's very kind of you, Mrs. Harker. Would you like to come in?" "Just for a moment." She settled into the living room, looking around at the space that still showed signs of Kira's presence. The ring light setup, the carefully arranged throw pillows, the stack of lifestyle magazines on the coffee table. I couldn't help but notice Kira didn't come home last night. She said with the directness of someone who'd outlived 3 husbands and had no patience for small talk. "We're having some problems." "I should think so, after that display at Marcello's." I stared at her. "You were at the restaurant?" "Oh, no, dear. But Marissa posted the whole thing on her Instagram story. Really quite dramatic." Mrs. Harker's eyes were sharp behind her wire-rimmed glasses. "Though I have to say, your reaction wasn't what any of us expected." "Us?" "The neighborhood chat group. We all follow the girls' social media accounts. It's better than cable television, honestly. Such drama." I hadn't realized my personal life had become entertainment for the entire street, but I probably should have expected it. Kira's friends documented everything. "For what it's worth," Mrs. Harker continued, "I think you handled it with remarkable dignity. A lesser man would have made a scene." "Thank you. Of course, some of us have been wondering when you'd finally see through that girl's nonsense. She's been working very late an awful lot lately, if you know what I mean." I leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Mrs. Harker smiled. "Dear, I've been watching this neighborhood for 40 years. I know when someone's having an affair. All those nights she claimed to be at the office. That fancy car was never in the parking lot when I drove by on my way to book club. You checked?" "I check everything. It's what keeps life interesting at my age." She patted my hand. That young man with the electric car has been picking her up from the corner quite regularly. Very handsome, but he has the look of someone who's never been told no. Devin. She was talking about Devin. How long have you known? A few months. I was waiting to see if you'd figure it out on your own. She stood up, smoothing down her cardigan. I'm glad you did. You deserve better than someone who treats marriage like a performance art project. After she left, I sat in my living room thinking about how many people had known about Kira's affair while I'd been obliviously working late to pay for her lifestyle. The humiliation was almost worse than the betrayal itself. My phone rang again. Owen's number this time. Phase 1 is complete, he said cheerfully. Our friend Devin is about to have a very frustrating day. What did you do? Let's just say his Tesla is going to develop some mysterious electrical issues. Nothing dangerous, just incredibly inconvenient. The kind of problems that make you look like an idiot when you're trying to impress people. Through my front window, I saw Kira's car pull into the driveway. She wasn't alone. Allie was with her, probably for moral support and content creation opportunities. I have to go, I told Owen. Kira's here for her things. Want me to come over? No, but thanks. I can handle this. I watched through the security camera as they approached the front door. Kira looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her makeup was smudged, and she was wearing the same dress from last night. Ali, on the other hand, looked like she was dressed for a photo shoot, with perfect makeup and an outfit that screamed, supportive best friend dealing with crisis. They knocked, and I opened the door. Hi, Kira said quietly. I'm here for some clothes and stuff. Fine. Allie can wait in the living room while you pack. Actually, I think I should come with her, Allie said, already pushing past me. You know, for support. Actually, you should stay down here, I replied firmly. This is still my house, and I don't want you going through my personal belongings. Allie's face flushed. She wasn't used to being told no, especially not by someone she considered beneath her social status. It's fine, Allie, Kira said quickly. I'll just grab what I need. I followed them upstairs, partly to make sure nothing went missing, and partly because I wanted to see Kira's reaction to the bedroom. I'd stripped the bed and packed away all the photos of us together. The space looked impersonal now, like a hotel room. Kira noticed immediately. Her hands shook as she pulled clothes from the closet and stuffed them into a suitcase. Trent, please, she said without looking at me. We can fix this. It was just a stupid mistake. Which part was the mistake? The public humiliation, or the 4 months you've been sleeping with Devin Cross? She froze, a dress halfway into the suitcase. I don't know what you're talking about. Hotel receipts, Kira. Text messages, photos. I kept my voice level, conversational. Did you really think I'd never find out? She turned to face me, and for a moment I saw real fear in her eyes. Then her expression hardened. You went through my phone. I didn't have to. You backed everything up to our shared cloud account, remember? The one I set up for you 2 years ago. The color drained from her face as she realized the implications. Every deleted message, every hidden photo, every secret conversation, all of it automatically saved and accessible to me. How long have you known? She whispered. Does it matter? She sank onto the edge of the bed, suitcase forgotten. I never meant for this to happen. It started as nothing, just flirting at work, and then you decided I was your backup plan while you figured out if he was worth leaving me for. She looked up sharply. You read that? I read all of it, including the group chat where you planned last night's little performance with your friends. Kira buried her face in her hands. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. What do you want? She asked finally. I want you to finish packing and leave. My lawyer will be in touch. She nodded and went back to shoving clothes into the suitcase. Neither of us spoke until she was done. At the top of the stairs, she turned back to me. For what it's worth, I did love you, once. I know, I said. That's what makes this so much worse. I watched from the window as they loaded the car and drove away. Allie was animated, probably already planning how to spin this for maximum social media sympathy, but Kira just stared straight ahead, looking like someone who'd finally realized the game was over. My phone buzzed with a text from Owen. Check Instagram. You're going to love this. I opened the app and found a video posted 20 minutes ago by someone called Tesla Trouble. It showed a sleek black Model S broken down in the middle of downtown traffic, hazard lights flashing while frustrated drivers honked and swerved around it. The caption read, When your $80,000 car decides to take a nap in rush hour traffic. Tesla fail. Electric car problems. The video had already been shared dozens of times, and the comments were brutal. People were roasting both the car and its owner, who was visible in the background looking frustrated and embarrassed as he waited for a tow truck. The owner was Devin Cross. I smiled for the first time in days. Phase 2 was just getting started. The next few days passed in a blur of legal consultations and strategic planning. My lawyer, Janet Mitchell, was a sharp woman in her 50s who specialized in what she called high-conflict divorces. After reviewing my evidence, she assured me that Kira would have very little leverage in any settlement negotiations. "This is remarkably well documented," she said, flipping through the printed screenshots I'd provided. "The adultery is clear, the financial misuse is provable, and you have everything backed up with timestamps and metadata. She's going to have a very difficult time claiming this was just a misunderstanding. What about the house? You owned it before the marriage, and you've been making all the payments from your business account. She has no legal claim to it." Janet leaned back in her chair. "Honestly, Mr. Mallory, this is one of the most straightforward cases I've handled in years. Your wife essentially documented her own infidelity." I left the law office feeling lighter than I had in months. The legal side was handled. Now I could focus on the more creative aspects of my response to Kira's prank. Owen met me at Murphy's coffee shop that afternoon to discuss Phase 2. The place was busy with the usual crowd of freelancers and retirees, which provided perfect cover for our conversation. "Devin's having a rough week," Owen said with barely contained glee. "His Tesla has broken down 3 times since Monday. The dealership can't figure out what's wrong. All the diagnostic tests come back normal, but the car keeps having random electrical failures. Nothing dangerous, right? Just inconvenient. Non-working battery, malfunctioning door locks, air conditioning that only works in reverse. The kind of problems that make you look like an idiot, but won't actually hurt anyone." I sipped my coffee and watched through the window as people walked by on Main Street. Our town had that timeless New England quality that attracted tourists and lifestyle bloggers. Kira had always loved taking photos against the brick buildings and tree-lined sidewalks, crafting an image of small-town authenticity for her followers. "There's something else," Owen continued. "I did some digging into Devin's background. Turns out he's got a girlfriend." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What?" "Lives in Boston. They've been together for 2 years, according to her social media. She has no idea about Kira." The implications hit me immediately. Devin hadn't just been having an affair with my wife. He'd been cheating on his own girlfriend to do it. The man was a serial cheater, and neither woman knew about the other. "What's her name?" "Jessica Chen. She's a nurse at Mass General. Seems like a nice person, from what I can tell online." Owen pulled out his phone and showed me her Instagram profile. "She posts a lot of photos with Devin. They look happy together." I studied the photos. Jessica was pretty, with long black hair and a warm smile. In every picture with Devin, she looked genuinely happy, the way Kira used to look with me before she started seeing our marriage as a business arrangement. "She deserves to know," I said. "That's what I figured you'd say." We spent the next hour crafting a careful message to Jessica. Nothing accusatory or dramatic, just a simple, factual explanation that her boyfriend had been having an affair, along with enough evidence to prove it wasn't a malicious lie. Screenshots of text messages between Devin and Kira, photos they'd taken together, hotel receipts showing his infidelity. I sent it from an anonymous email account, then sat back and waited. The response came faster than I'd expected. Within 2 hours, Jessica had replied with a single word. "Thanks." An hour after that, Devin's social media accounts started disappearing. First Instagram, then Facebook, then Twitter. By evening, his online presence had been completely scrubbed. Owen called me that night, laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Dude, you have to see this," he managed between chuckles. "Check Jessica's Instagram story." I opened the app and found a video of Jessica systematically destroying what looked like thousands of dollars worth of designer clothes and electronics. She was cutting up suits, smashing cologne bottles, and feeding expensive watches into a garbage disposal. The caption read, "Spring cleaning, getting rid of some toxic items that were cluttering up my life." New beginnings. Chucked trash day. The video had hundreds of comments from friends and followers cheering her on, though most of them probably didn't understand what they were witnessing. It was a masterclass in passive-aggressive revenge, and I found myself genuinely impressed by her creativity. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Probably Kira again, using someone else's phone to get around the block I'd put on her original number. "We need to talk. This has gone too far." I ignored it. The next morning, I decided to take a walk through downtown. It was Saturday, which meant the farmers market was set up in the town square, and I knew Kira and her friends would probably be there taking photos for their social media accounts. The market was perfect for their brand of curated authenticity. Local vendors, organic produce, the kind of scene that screamed, "I support small business," to their followers. Sure enough, I spotted them near the flower stand. Kira looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, wearing sunglasses despite the overcast day. Ali and Marissa flanked her like bodyguards, both of them scanning the crowd as if they expected trouble. I bought coffee from the local roaster and found a bench where I could observe without being obvious about it. Mrs. Harker appeared beside me as if by magic, carrying a bag of fresh vegetables. "Oh, hello, dear," she said, settling onto the bench with a satisfied sigh. "Lovely morning for people watching, isn't it?" "It certainly is. I see your wife is having a difficult time lately. She's been staying with that alley girl, from what I hear." I looked at her curiously. "How do you know that?" "Oh, the neighborhood chat group keeps track of these things. We're all very invested in how this situation resolves itself." Mrs. Harker's eyes twinkled with mischief. "Especially after that business with the young man and his car troubles?" "You know about that?" "Dear, everyone knows about that. The video of him broken down on Main Street has been shared in every local Facebook group. Quite embarrassing for someone who used to brag about his expensive car." I watched as Kira tried to take photos at various vendor stalls, but she clearly wasn't feeling it. Her usual enthusiasm for creating content was gone, replaced by a mechanical going through the motions quality that even I could see from across the square. "She looks miserable," Mrs. Harker observed. "Good." The older woman chuckled. "I like this new side of you, Trent. You were always too nice for your own good." As if sensing our attention, Kira looked in our direction. Even with the sunglasses, I could see her stiffen when she spotted me. She said something to Allie, who immediately turned and glared in my direction. "Uh-oh," Mrs. Harker murmured. "I think we've been noticed." Ali was marching across the square toward us, her face flushed with anger. Marissa hurried after her, phone already out and recording. This was exactly the kind of confrontation they lived for, drama that could be turned into content. "You have some nerve showing up here," Ali said when she reached our bench. "Haven't you done enough damage?" I looked up at her calmly. "I'm sorry, I don't understand. Done damage to what?" "Don't play dumb. You know exactly what you've done." "I went for a walk in my own town and bought coffee at the farmer's market. If that's damaging to someone, maybe they should examine their life choices." Mrs. Harker was watching the exchange with undisguised delight, like she was at the theater. "You're destroying Kira's life over a harmless prank," Allie continued, her voice rising. "She made one mistake, and you're acting like she murdered someone." "One mistake?" I stood up, keeping my voice level. "Which mistake are we talking about? The public humiliation, the affair, or using my money to pay for hotel rooms with her boyfriend?" Allie's mouth opened and closed. Clearly Kira hadn't told her friends about Devon. That's not," she stammered. "It's all documented, Allie. Text messages, photos, financial records. Your friend has been cheating on me for months while planning to humiliate me for social media content." I smiled. "But please, tell me more about this harmless prank." Marissa had moved closer, still recording everything. I could see other people at the market starting to notice the commotion, phones coming out to capture the drama. "You went through her private messages," Allie said, grasping for moral high ground. "That's a violation of privacy. She backed everything up to our shared cloud account, the one I pay for, the one she gave me access to." I shrugged. "If you don't want your husband to see your affair, maybe don't automatically save all the evidence to his computer." By now, we had an audience. The farmer's market crowd was pretending to shop while obviously listening to every word. I could see Kira hovering by the flower stand, looking like she wanted to disappear. "She loves you," Allie said desperately. "She made a mistake, but she loves you." "No. She loves my money and my house and the security I provided while she figured out if her boyfriend was worth leaving me for." I picked up my coffee and started to walk away, then turned back. "By the way, you might want to ask her about Devon's girlfriend in Boston. I'm sure that'll be great content for your Instagram." I left them standing there and walked home, feeling better than I had in weeks. Behind me, I could hear Allie's voice rising as she presumably confronted Kira about information she hadn't shared with her support system. My phone was buzzing with notifications by the time I got home. The confrontation had already been posted online, and the comments were not kind to Allie or Kira. People were sharing it across multiple platforms, dissecting every word and taking sides. But the real entertainment started that evening, when Kira's friends began turning on each other. It started with Jess posting a cryptic message on her Instagram story. "Sometimes you find out your friends aren't who you thought they were. Disappointed, but not surprised." Within an hour, Allie had responded with her own post. Fake friends love to throw stones when you're going through a hard time. Real ones stick by you no matter what. Then Marissa jumped in. Some people need to take responsibility for their actions instead of blaming everyone else when their lies catch up with them. I made popcorn and watched the drama unfold in real time. Years of hidden resentments and jealousies were spilling out in public, all triggered by the stress of Kira's situation. The group that had seemed so tight-knit was fracturing along fault lines that had probably existed for years. Owen called me around 10 p.m. "Are you watching this?" he asked, laughing. "They're destroying each other online." "It's better than cable." Jess just posted screenshots of a group chat where Allie was talking shit about Kira's relationship with you. Apparently she's been calling you the ATM for months. I wasn't surprised. Allie had never bothered to hide her contempt for me, though she'd been happy enough to enjoy the parties I'd paid for and the house I'd provided for her friend. "There's more," Owen continued. "Someone, and I'm guessing it was Jess, sent screenshots of Kira's affair to her boss at the marketing firm. Apparently she was using company time and resources to coordinate her meetings with Devin. That was a complication I hadn't expected." "How do you know?" "Marissa posted about it, trying to make Kira look like a victim. But the comments are brutal. People are saying she got what she deserved." I hung up and checked Marissa's post. Sure enough, she'd shared a long, rambling defense of Kira that included way too much information about the affair, the work situation, and the friend group drama. The comments were a mix of support and condemnation, but the damage was done. Kira's personal business was now public knowledge, shared and discussed by hundreds of people in our small town. My phone buzzed with another text from an unknown number. "Please stop. I'm sorry. I'll do anything to make this right." I stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it without responding. Kira had wanted to create viral content by humiliating me in public. Instead, she'd given me everything I needed to systematically dismantle the life she'd built on lies and manipulation, and I was just getting started. Monday morning brought news that even I hadn't expected. Owen called me at 7 a.m., barely able to contain his excitement. "Turn on Channel 8, he said. "You're not going to believe this." I flipped to the local news station just in time to catch the tail end of a story about social media influencer ethics. The anchor was discussing a recent case where a local woman had staged a fake breakup prank that backfired when her husband discovered she was actually having an affair. They didn't use names, but anyone who'd been following the drama online would know exactly who they were talking about. The story had apparently grown beyond our small town, picked up by regional news outlets and social media gossip accounts. "The incident raises questions about the ethics of using real relationships as content for social media," the anchor was saying, "and the legal implications when such pranks expose actual infidelity." I turned off the TV and sat in my kitchen, trying to process the fact that my personal life had somehow become a news story. This was far beyond what I'd planned or expected. My phone rang. Janet Mitchell, my lawyer. "Trent, I hope you're sitting down," she said. "Kira's attorney called this morning. She wants to settle quickly and quietly. No contest divorce, she keeps her personal belongings and car, you keep everything else." "That's it?" "That's it. She's not asking for alimony, property division, or anything else. She just wants this to be over as soon as possible." I could understand why. The public attention was clearly more than she'd bargained for, and every day that passed seemed to bring new revelations and complications. "There's one condition," Janet continued. "She wants you to stop, whatever it is you've been doing." Her lawyer was very vague about the details, but apparently she feels you've been actively working to damage her reputation. I almost laughed. "I haven't done anything illegal." "I know that, and I told her attorney as much, but she's clearly desperate to make this stop." "What did you tell them?" "That we'd consider their offer and get back to them. But honestly, Trent, this is a better deal than we could have gotten if we'd gone to trial. She's essentially giving up any claim to marital assets." After I hung up, I sat in my kitchen thinking about Kira's offer. Part of me was tempted to take it and move on with my life. The marriage was over, I'd proven my point, and she was clearly suffering the consequences of her actions. But then I remembered the group chat where she'd planned my humiliation, the messages calling me her backup plan, the months of lies and manipulation, the casual cruelty of someone who'd seen our marriage as nothing more than content for her social media empire. No, I wasn't done yet. I called Owen and asked him to meet me at the office. Our electrical contracting business was housed in a converted warehouse on the outskirts of town, and it was the one place where I could think clearly without distractions. "So what's the plan?" Owen asked when he arrived, carrying coffee and looking like he was ready for whatever came next. "I want to give Kira exactly what she asked for," I said. "A viral moment that everyone will remember." I outlined my idea. Owen listened with growing amazement. That's either brilliant or completely insane, he said when I finished. Maybe both. When? Tonight. The town council meeting is at 7, and it's always packed. Plus, they live stream it on Facebook for people who can't attend in person. Owen grinned. I love it. What do you need me to do? We spent the rest of the day preparing. I put together a presentation that was professional, factual, and devastating. Owen handled the technical aspects, making sure we had everything ready for a flawless execution. At 6:30, we arrived at the town hall. The monthly council meeting was usually a boring affair. Budget discussions, zoning requests, complaints about potholes. But word had apparently gotten out that something interesting might happen because the room was more crowded than usual. I spotted Mrs. Harker in the third row, looking like she wouldn't miss this for the world. Several other neighbors were there too, along with people I didn't recognize who were probably just curious about the local drama they'd heard about online. Kira wasn't there, which I'd expected. She'd been keeping a low profile since the farmers' market confrontation. The meeting proceeded normally for the first hour. Budget reports, a discussion about new stop signs, a heated debate about the Christmas decorations budget. Then, during the public comment period, I stood up. I'd like to address the council about a matter of public interest, I said. Mayor Richardson, a man who'd held the office for 15 years and loved any opportunity to be on camera, nodded enthusiastically. Of course, Mr. Mallory. Please, come to the podium. I walked to the front of the room, conscious of the cameras recording everything and the dozens of phones that were already out and filming. The room was silent. Thank you, Mayor Richardson, council members, I began. I'm here tonight to discuss the importance of truth in our community, particularly in the age of social media. I clicked the remote in my hand, and the projector screen behind me lit up with the title slide, When Pranks Become Lies, a Case Study in Social Media Ethics. A murmur went through the crowd as people realized what they were about to witness. Many of you have probably seen or heard about a recent incident where a local resident staged a fake breakup prank at a restaurant, intending to film her husband's reaction for social media content. Click. The next slide showed screenshots of the group chat where Kira and her friends had planned the prank, with names blurred but context clear. What the public didn't know at the time was that this prank was designed to humiliate and manipulate, planned in advance with the specific goal of creating viral content at another person's expense. Click. Screenshots of the messages calling me her backup plan, discussing how to make me cry on camera. The room was absolutely silent now. Even Mayor Richardson was staring at the screen with his mouth slightly open. But the story doesn't end there, I continued, because sometimes, when you stage a fake breakup, you discover that your marriage was already broken. Click. A carefully curated selection of messages between Kira and Devon, explicit content removed but the affair unmistakable. This case raises important questions about consent, about using real people as content, and about the responsibility we all have to consider the consequences of our actions in the digital age. I went through the entire timeline methodically, professionally, like I was presenting a business proposal rather than destroying someone's life in public. The financial misuse, the lies, the way she'd manipulated not just me, but her friends and followers. The reason I'm sharing this with you tonight, I concluded, is because I believe our community deserves to know when someone is using our local businesses, our public spaces, and our trust as props for manufactured drama. We've all become unwilling participants in someone else's performance, and I think we have a right to know when we're being used. I clicked to the final slide. Questions? The room erupted. People were shouting questions, talking to each other, holding up phones to get better angles. Mayor Richardson was banging his gavel, trying to restore order. Through the chaos, I saw Mrs. Harker stand up and start clapping. Others joined her until half the room was applauding while the other half buzzed with shocked conversation. Thank you for your time, I said into the microphone, then walked calmly back to my seat. The meeting devolved into chaos after that. Mayor Richardson eventually gave up trying to restore order and called for adjournment. People streamed out of the building, clustering in groups to discuss what they'd just witnessed. Owen found me in the parking lot. Holy shit, dude, he said, grinning from ear to ear. That was incredible. The live stream had over 300 viewers by the end, and people are already sharing clips online. My phone was buzzing constantly with notifications, but I ignored it. I'd said what I needed to say, presented the facts as clearly and professionally as possible. Now it was out of my hands. We went to Murphy's Pub to celebrate. The place was packed with people from the town meeting, and I found myself at the center of attention in a way I'd never experienced before. People were buying me drinks, patting me on the back, telling me how brave I was for standing up for myself. It was intoxicating, being seen and respected instead of dismissed and underestimated. Around 10 p.m., the mood in the pub shifted. People were looking at their phones, whispering to each other. Owen nudged me and pointed toward the door. Kira had walked in. She looked terrible, pale, shaking, her eyes red from crying. She scanned the room until she found me, then walked over with the determined gait of someone who had nothing left to lose. The entire pub went quiet. "You got what you wanted," she said, her voice barely above a whisper but carrying clearly in the silence. "Are you happy now?" I looked at her for a long moment, this woman I'd loved for 8 years, who'd shared my bed and my dreams and my bank account while planning to humiliate me for internet points. "I'm getting there," I said. She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I lost my job today," she continued. "My landlord saw the video and wants me out. My own mother won't take my calls." "I'm sorry to hear that." "No, you're not. This is exactly what you wanted." Her voice was getting stronger, anger overriding the hurt. "You wanted to destroy me, and you did." I stood up, conscious of the dozens of phones recording this confrontation. "I wanted the truth to come out," I said calmly. "Everything I showed tonight was real. Your messages, your plans, your affair. I didn't make any of that up. You could have handled this privately. Like you handled our marriage privately. Like you handled that prank privately." I shook my head. "You made our relationship public the moment you decided to film me without my consent. You made it community business when you used our local restaurant as a stage for your performance. I just provided some context that was missing from your original story." Tears were streaming down her face now, but her expression was pure rage. "I hope you're proud of yourself," she said. "I hope this was worth it." "It was," I said, and meant it. She turned and walked out of the pub. The door slammed behind her, and slowly conversation resumed. People came over to shake my hand, to tell me I'd done the right thing, to buy me another drink. But I was done celebrating. I'd accomplished what I'd set out to do. Kira's carefully constructed image was in ruins. Her support system had collapsed, and everyone in town knew exactly who she really was. The prank was over, and I'd had the last laugh. Owen drove me home around midnight. The house felt different now. Not empty, but peaceful. Like a weight had been lifted from the walls themselves. I sat in my kitchen, looking out at the rose garden that Kira had loved so much. Tomorrow, I'd probably have to deal with reporters, with lawyers, with the aftermath of what I'd done tonight. But right now, for the first time in months, I felt free. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Probably Kira, making one last attempt to reach me. I deleted it without reading it and went to bed. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my kitchen reading the newspaper when Owen knocked on my door. He looked excited about something, practically bouncing on his feet. "You need to see this," he said, holding up his phone. The video he showed me was taken at Boston Logan Airport. Devin Cross was arguing with airline staff about his luggage, his voice getting progressively louder and more entitled as they explained that his bags had been randomly selected for additional screening. What made it funny wasn't the argument itself, but the fact that someone had recognized him from all the social media drama and was filming the entire meltdown. "Karma's a beautiful thing," Owen said, grinning. Apparently, he's been having a rough time since Jessica kicked him out. Lost his job, had to move back in with his parents, and now he's famous for all the wrong reasons. I watched the video again, noting how Devin's entitled attitude was on full display for everyone to see. The comments were brutal. People were roasting him not just for the affair, but for his general behavior and attitude. "What about Kira?" I asked. Radio silence. She deleted all her social media accounts last week. Word is she moved back to her hometown in Vermont. I nodded, feeling a mixture of satisfaction and something that might have been pity. Might have been. The divorce had been finalized 2 days ago. Kira had signed everything without contest, just as her lawyer had promised. The house was mine, the business was mine, and I was free to rebuild my life however I wanted. "So what's next?" Owen asked. "You thinking about dating again?" "Eventually. But first, I think I need to figure out who I am when I'm not being someone's backup plan." We were interrupted by a knock at the door. Mrs. Harker stood on my porch, holding a covered dish and wearing the expression of someone who had news to share. "Good morning, dear," she said. "I brought you some of that banana bread you like." "Thank you, Mrs. Harker. Would you like to come in?" Just for a moment, she settled into the living room, looking around at the space that was finally starting to feel like mine again. I'd redecorated over the past few weeks, removing the last traces of Kira's Instagram-ready aesthetic and replacing it with furniture I actually liked. "I wanted you to know that the neighborhood chat group has been talking," she said. "We're all very proud of how you handled this situation." "Thank you." And we wanted you to know that if you ever need anything, help with the garden, someone to check on the house when you're traveling, that sort of thing, we're here for you. It was a simple offer, but it meant more than she probably realized. For the first time in years, I felt like I was part of a community rather than just someone who lived in the neighborhood. After she left, I walked through my house, taking inventory of the changes I'd made. The ring light setup was gone from the living room, replaced by a comfortable reading chair. The kitchen table no longer had to accommodate phone tripods and camera equipment. The bedroom actually looked like a place where people slept instead of a set for lifestyle content. My phone rang. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize, but I answered anyway. Mr. Mallory, this is Rebecca Santos from Channel 8 News. I was wondering if you'd be interested in doing a follow-up interview about social media ethics and privacy rights. I'd been getting calls like this for weeks. Local news stations, podcasters, even a producer from a daytime talk show who wanted me to appear on a segment about revenge in the digital age. I appreciate the interest, I said, but I think I've said everything I need to say on the subject. Are you sure? We could discuss the broader implications of what happened, maybe talk about how other people can protect themselves from similar situations. I'm sure. Thank you for calling. I hung up and turned off my phone. The media attention had been flattering at first, but I was ready to move on. I'd made my point, settled my score, and now I wanted to focus on building something new rather than dwelling on what I'd destroyed. That afternoon, I drove to the job site where my crew was installing new electrical systems in a renovated office building. It felt good to get back to work, to focus on something constructive and productive. Boss? One of my electricians called out as I walked through the building. You see the news about that Tesla guy? What about him? Apparently, he got arrested for drunk driving last night, hit a parked car, and tried to blame it on his ex-girlfriend. I shook my head. Devin just couldn't help himself, apparently. Even when his life was falling apart, he was still looking for someone else to blame for his problems. Focus on the work, I told my crew. Other people's drama isn't our concern. But privately, I felt a sense of completion. Every person who had participated in or enabled Kira's plan to humiliate me had faced consequences for their actions, not because I'd orchestrated some elaborate revenge scheme, but because I'd simply revealed the truth about who they really were. The truth had been enough. That evening, I was working in my basement workshop when I heard a car pull into the driveway. Through the security camera feed, I saw a vehicle I didn't recognize, a beat-up Honda with Vermont plates. Kira got out of the passenger side. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, darker, and she was wearing jeans and a plain t-shirt instead of her usual carefully coordinated outfits. She looked older, somehow, more real. She knocked on the door, and after a moment's hesitation, I answered it. "Hi," she said quietly. "Hi. Can we talk? Just for a few minutes?" I considered saying no. The divorce was final, the story was over, and I had no obligation to give her anything more of my time or energy. But curiosity won out. Okay. We sat on the front porch, maintaining careful distance between us. The evening air was cool, and I could smell the roses blooming in the garden she used to love photographing. I wanted to apologize, she said. Really apologize, not just the performative stuff I was doing before. I waited. You were right about everything. The prank, the affair, all of it. I was so caught up in building my brand and getting attention online that I forgot you were a real person with real feelings. She looked down at her hands. I forgot that I was supposed to be a real person, too. What do you want me to say? Nothing. I needed you to know that I understand what I did was wrong. Not just the cheating, but all of it. Treating our marriage like content, planning to humiliate you, using your money to fund my affair. She took a shaky breath. I became someone I don't recognize, and I'm trying to figure out how to be better. Are you? I'm trying. I'm in therapy now. Real therapy, not just the kind where you complain about your problems for sympathy. I got a job at a veterinary clinic in Vermont. Nothing glamorous, but it's honest work helping animals instead of exploiting people for views. I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or performance, but she seemed genuine in a way I hadn't seen in years. I'm glad you're getting help, I said, and meant it. I don't expect forgiveness, she continued. I know I don't deserve it. I just wanted you to know that what happened taught me something important about who I was becoming, and I'm grateful for that lesson, even though I hate how I learned it. We sat in silence for a few minutes, listening to the evening sounds of the neighborhood. Dogs barking, children playing, the distant sound of someone mowing their lawn. I should go, she said finally. My ride is waiting. I looked at the Honda, where a woman about Kira's age was sitting patiently behind the wheel. My sister, Kira explained. She's helping me get back on my feet. She stood up, then turned back to me one last time. For what it's worth, I really did love you. I just forgot how to show it in a way that wasn't about me. I know, I said. Take care of yourself, Kira. I watched her walk back to the car and drive away. As the taillights disappeared around the corner, I felt something I hadn't expected. Closure. Not forgiveness, exactly, and certainly not reconciliation, but an ending that felt complete rather than bitter. My phone buzzed with a text from Owen. Saw Kira's car? Everything okay? Yeah, I texted back. Everything's fine. I went back inside and made dinner. Something simple that I cooked just for myself without worrying about how it would look in photos or whether it fit someone else's dietary restrictions. I ate at my kitchen table while reading a book, enjoying the quiet and the freedom to just exist without performing for anyone. Later that night, I was getting ready for bed when I realized something had changed. For the first time in months, I wasn't angry. The rage that had sustained me through the divorce and the public confrontations had burned itself out, leaving behind something calmer and more sustainable. I'd gotten my revenge, but more importantly, I'd gotten my life back. The next morning, I woke up early and made coffee, then sat in my garden watching the sunrise. The roses Kira had loved were in full bloom, their red petals bright against the green leaves. I'd thought about tearing them out after she left, erasing that last reminder of our life together. But I decided to keep them. Not as a memorial to our marriage, but as a reminder that beautiful things could grow from difficult circumstances if you tended them properly. My phone rang. Owen's number. Morning, he said cheerfully. You ready to get back to work? We've got 3 new contracts this week, and I think we're going to need to hire another electrician. Sounds good, I said, meaning it. Business was booming, partly because of all the media attention, but mostly because we did good work and treated people fairly. The future looked bright, full of possibilities I hadn't allowed myself to consider when I was trapped in a marriage that had become a performance. Oh, and Trent? Owen added. I'm proud of you, man, for how you handled all this. You could have just rolled over and let her get away with it, but you stood up for yourself. That took guts. Thanks. Plus, it was entertaining as hell to watch. I'm going to be dining out on this story for years. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in longer than I could remember. Just don't embellish it too much when you tell it. Are you kidding? The truth is better than anything I could make up. After we hung up, I finished my coffee and got ready for work. In the bathroom mirror, I looked the same as always. Average height, brown hair, the kind of face that blended into crowds. But my eyes were different now. Clearer somehow, more confident. Kira had tried to make me the punchline of her joke, the humiliated husband in her viral video. Instead, she'd given me the opportunity to show everyone, including myself, who I really was when pushed to my limits. I was someone who planned carefully, who fought back strategically, who didn't give up when things got difficult. I was someone who deserved better than being called a backup plan. Most importantly, I was someone who could have the last laugh when it mattered most. I grabbed my keys and headed out to start another day, leaving behind the house that was finally, completely mine. The morning air was fresh and full of possibilities, and for the first time in years, I was excited to see what came next. Behind me, the roses bloomed in the garden, beautiful and resilient, thriving in the space where something toxic had once grown.